We are going to get started. I had talked to Amber this morning about, she wanted some help with some copy. So I'm going to actually pull up her message that she sent me, and then we're going to go step by step through how I would kind of retweak her message. So let me just copy and paste this. And I think this will be good because it will also be super like interactive of your guys' feedback, because I think sometimes like Amber personal coaches with me. And sometimes I think also it's great to get my advice, but I think sometimes it's great to get like someone's advice of like what they get out of it. So I'm actually going to do something with her. I'm actually going to have you guys read. And by the way, if you guys can interact, great. If you can't, totally fine. If you can chat, great. If you can't, there's no obligation on building your destiny of what you have to do or not, or what you don't have to do. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to read this, and then I want you to type or talk feedback of like, if you're reading this, do you, number one, understand kind of like just kind of what's some of your comments, thoughts, positive and negative. We won't call it negative, but constructive like thoughts that you have as you're reading this, right? So 5 things I've been using a lot lately to increase pleasure. Release negative self-talk, because what you focus on becomes reality. Ask for help from someone that has what you want. They know the steps and risks it takes to get those things you are really wanting in life. Envision what pleasure looks like for you and be that every day. Make the decision that you would make. Open up your sacral and root chakra. Do hip circles in the morning while you say your declarations in the mirror, and put some sexy music on and let your body do her thing. Find your community. Find those women who love and support other women to be their raw, sexy, powerful, sensual, magnetic, and pleasure-filled selves. If you want to learn how to take this to the next level, make sure to sign up for Illuminate Align Mastermind. P.S. It's early bird pricing right now. So if this sounds like something for you, comment below. So if you guys have any feedback, or not even feedback, so not necessarily coaching of how to write the post, but just kind of as you read this, are you like, this sounds like something I really want? Or is this something that you're like, I'm not really sure if this is for me or what it is, right? So if you guys have feedback, just interrupt me, but I'm going to keep going as we talk, just because I don't know who can talk or who can't talk. But when I read this and when I see this, I can see it's being used as a value post, which is super awesome, right? So it's 5 things I've been using a lot to increase pleasure. What I would say as we're going through increasing pleasure, I would say the word pleasure might not be something that people can resonate with, because pleasure to me could mean different than pleasure for somebody else, right? So like, is it like pleasure just in life in general? Is it like sexuality pleasure? Is it like what specifically does pleasure mean, right? So if I was to do this, 5 things I have been using lately. So I would almost write this as not what, I'm just going to rewrite this how I would rewrite it. So I'm going to do this. So 5 top 5 ways to increase your sensual pleasure. I'm only saying this assuming we're coming back to your kind of sensuality brand, right? 5 ways to increase your sensual pleasure. How I would probably do this is we need something in here, and whether it's before or after, I would probably put it after. So I'm going to put some dots right here. I would probably Okay, how do I do this? I don't know. I'm not good at tech stuff. So this is going to be, so I'll just add it right here. So 5 ways to increase your sensual pleasure. What I would do is I would state the problem of some sort at least, or some sort of connecting piece, right? So I would probably put, oh wait, I see a chat. Someone who has what you want felt kind of vague to me. Wasn't sure what that meant. Like, is it a puppy, $100,000, a great marriage, a new outfit? Awesome. I'm so, that was a private message to me. So, but I don't know if that just meant to go that way, but, so what I'm hearing, and it's kind of a little bit of what I was saying this morning too, is people aren't understanding the outcome, right? Or what it is that the actual end goal is. Is it a new puppy? Is it $100,000? Is it a great marriage? Is it an outfit? Like, we really need the transformation, like the measurable transformation that someone's like, yes, I'm hiring this person because I want $100,000. Yes, I'm hiring this person because I need to save my marriage from divorce. I'm hiring this person because I want to get a brand new puppy, right? I'm hiring this person so that I have body confidence, right? So great feedback. So connecting we need a connecting piece. So which could be right here, right? Like, who is it that we're connecting to? Who is it that we're talking to? So you could even say something like, and I'm just gonna, this is just winging it. So obviously we can work on this and get a little bit like more in depth, but top 5 ways to increase your sensual pleasure. You could even put a statistic here. Did you know that, I'm making this up, but 1 in 5 women fake, depends how bold you want to go with it, because I know you talk a lot about like sensuality and orgasms and all the things like that. You could go bold because we want something that's a shocking statement, where it's like 1 in 5 women fake orgasms. Shocking men. I know, as women, we tend to put our needs aside and settle when really we just need to understand why is it that we are not enjoying intimacy. This is just one route you could go, right? Because we could even go the route of the problem, like, did you know, I would pull some sort of statistic, or I would some sort of shocking statement, or even just connecting the problem, like, did you know that more women than not struggle with sensual pleasure than embrace it, right? And so right here, it's like we really just need to understand, why is it that we are not enjoying intimacy? Is it that we are broken? Is it, and this is where you would like really speak their language, is it that we are too tired? Is it that we are overtouched all day long? Is it that our love language isn't being met, right? And you could just like list things like that. So now we're actually speaking the language of our audience and the problems, because a lot of women know, like, oh yeah, heck, I know that, like, I am not connected to myself, right? Or this or that. And so then what you could go from there is, as women, we tend to put our needs aside and settle when really we just need to understand why, blah, blah, blah. Is it the, say, I don't, or say, it would be, let me think how I would state this. Obviously, without me understanding your personal human design, boom, here's the answer. I can't give everyone the same answer, or the same response, as it's not a one size fits all. But I have found that you will get a huge increase in, I'm going to use the word results, but I don't think that's the word for you, right? Like for this post, but I have found that you will get a huge increase in results if you use these top 5 routines. I don't know, we might change that word up too a little bit, but this is just like first rough draft. So that's what I would do, right? We have here's like a how-to great title. We have the problem and like connecting, we're speaking to the audience, we've connected to them through their language, and now we've told them like a little hook of like, well, obviously I need to know your human design, but I have found that you'll get a huge increase in sensual pleasure results, whatever word you want to use, if you use these top 5 blank, whatever you want word right there too, right? Obviously you want it in your language. So then when we go from to here, we're going to go, okay, ask for help from someone that has what you want, right? We have to figure out, how does this connect to like sensual pleasure? So ask for help from someone that has what you want. They know the steps and risks it takes to get those things you are really wanting in life. What I would probably add here is maybe an actual, because a lot of people aren't going to ask for help when it comes to like pleasure, right? So I would almost switch the tip into something they can really start right now, like make a list of things you feel only you are experiencing that you're experiencing that you may feel embarrassed to ask. And then I would probably put something like, for example, well, I would say there usually is more people than not that are experiencing your same issues. Did you know 1 out of, I'm just like making this up, but 1 out of 3 women don't know how to orgasm. We're like digging in deep here. Orgasm and feel broken. And then if you wanted, you could go even more in depth and be like, which technically is not the case. They just don't understand their anatomy, or their partner doesn't understand their anatomy, or they don't understand their human design to get the pleasure that they need, right? So if you wanted to, you could put like an answer here, or you could just leave it where it's at. And then number 2, and I would almost number these like 1, 2, I would probably number them, but it's not a huge deal if you don't. Envision what pleasure looks like for you and be that every day. Make the decision that this you would make a decision. This you would make. So envision what pleasure looks like for you every day. So we want to kind of like show them what that looks like, right? So number 2 would be envision what pleasure looks like to you, so that you can start to embody that. I know you like that word, so I'm just using it, to embody that every day. And then maybe give them like a, how can they do that? Like, do they this is why like the word pleasure, it's like, I'm not sure I would know what to do. Like, how do you envision pleasure? I have no idea. So you could give an example, like, so example, boom, you could give them an example, right? Show them what that looks like. Number 3, open up your sacral or root chakra. Do hip circles in the morning while saying your declarations in the mirror. So what I would probably do here is put number 3, our root and sacral chakra hold our pleasure energy. When we lack the ability to have or embrace pleasure, there is usually an energy, and this is my language, so you can switch it up, Nick, in our chakra system. The best way I have found to open this up on my own is as simple as movement, such as hip circles with flowy, I don't know how to spell that, music. Like I said, you can come tweak any of this, but this is just if it was my post, what I would do. And then find your community, right? Find those women who love and support other women to find their rock. And I love that one. That one's great. If you want to learn how to take this to the next level, make sure you sign up. So then I would say, comment. Well, actually, what I would say is, I don't know, something like, you need like an ending paragraph of like bringing it all together, right? Such as like, these tips will, or if you commit to these simple routines every day, you will be guaranteed, this is talking to the auditories, guaranteed to increase your pleasure within 30 days or something, right? We just like, what, I don't know. So we can put something there, just something to bring it back together. But, or not but, so I'm going to pleasure every day. I get that some cases are more difficult than others, and that is where human design comes in. I would love to chat with anyone wanting to understand their human design and how it pertains to your sensuality or your pleasure, right? Now, if you don't want to get on the phone with people, then I would just add something like, if you commit to these simple things, even if you did something like, hopefully these tips are helpful for you as much as they are for me. If you feel you are a more difficult, I don't know if I'd use the word case, but feel you are in a more difficult situation or a difficult case, or if you feel you have a hard time understanding where to even begin, then My private mastermind is for you. Then we need to go into, in this mastermind, you will discover your human design and how your energy needs to heal, and we will help you create a community and skill set that will be guaranteed to get you results. Boom, right? People want to know what the guarantee is. People want to know what the results are. Now, if this was a hardcore sales post, you could also say in this mastermind, this is what you'll get. And you could literally nick by nick by nick by nick, like literally like plan out what it is. Now, don't give them everything. Just give them the stuff that pertains to pleasure and sensuality, or else you're going to then start talking to other audiences. And so we want to keep it very like narrowed down. So this is like what I would do. And I can add this to your, I can add this to your folder as soon as I'm done. Let me see actually if I can do this right now. I'll add this to your folders so that you have it. But I think this would be a great start. And then what I would actually do is I want to add any photos or anything to it. I'm actually finding that the posts right now that have the least amount of photos and graphics are doing really well. And so I'm playing with that right now, and it's actually working. Unless I have a really long post, then I find that people really respond to that. And so that's what I would do, because now we've just taken your very broad post and we narrowed it down to those specific people. And now if you're wanting to target a different audience, you could do that with a different post, and you can go into all of the other things. But I think a common theme here, and it might be something, because I know you're co-hosting this with someone, it might be something where you guys really need to sit down too and get a little more narrowed down on what the tangible transformation is. Sometimes when we do like retreats or masterminds or classes, it's like there's such a broad amount of people that we can help, right? Like I can help business owners, I can help moms, I can help stay-at-home moms, I can help millionaires, people that are living on the streets, but the language that everybody uses is completely different. And so it's really narrowing down, who are you specifically targeting? And what was like messaged, right, is someone who has what you want, right? Like it's very vague. Like I wasn't, okay, go ahead, Sammy.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that I didn't realize it was about sex per se or orgasms, because I don't know what my friend's orgasm level is. Like, find somebody who has what you want. I don't know how many orgasms you have. So like I didn't go there. Like I didn't think about it makes sense. And I guess maybe what I thinking about it and like listening to it work through, maybe it's not even that it's that different. It's just finding somebody who has taken the steps to achieve the pleasure in their life. Like it's like the coach, right? The coach would be the person, not necessarily like my buddy. Because
yeah,
I don't know. I still have weird things that are talking about all kinds of intimate issues. Like
when you first read it and you heard the word pleasure, what came to your mind? Just pleasure in life, or
like joy and connection, and like what brings you pleasure? Like my fuzzy warm clothes are very like it's a pleasure thing to me. It was more like a body pleasure than which sexual pleasure is a body pleasure, but my brain just
like a cozy feeling.
Yeah, that was my first thought, and that's influenced by other people. Like Jenna is the joy coach, and she talks about sexual energy, but there's a lot about like how you feel and your joy and stuff. So there's like an influence in my circle, which I just didn't know what I was looking at. But yeah, once you started explaining it, I was like, oh, this is like a totally different post. And actually this makes a lot of sense now that I'm hearing it and having a little bit more to latch onto. So I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing too, right? Because she could be talking about just everyday life pleasure too. Like I could have taken it completely wrong too, right? But at the same time, we have to look at it. Well, then how do we stand out versus every other joy coach, right? Like how do we like stand out over every other, like find your sensuality? Like it's a big thing right now. And when things are kind of a fad or a big thing, I really think, how can I go a little more bold or drastic? Because it will make you really stand out a little bit more, because it's the stuff people aren't talking about that really are the deeper issues, right? Which is kind of why I went the money route, because people just don't talk about money. People don't talk about sex. People don't talk about these things that are actually root issues, which is why even right now I'm talking a lot about like my own struggles, because actually I know a lot of influencers, almost all of them, that are really struggling right now, but they're not talking about it, right? But it's like, as a collective energy, as a whole of the world right now, we can all feel it, right? And so before, yeah, the photo shoots, the things, and I loved them, they were fun and they worked in that moment, but those aren't connecting with people right now. People are so like in their own like world of like kind of survival right now, or just like, or introverted or homesteady, that they don't want the flashy stuff. They don't want the, like, now people are like, oh, take my extensions out, like get in my PJs, like get comfy, right? Because also the season too. And so we have to really start to tweak and be like, how can we be the first about like of what we're talking about? Which is why I actually love, like, speaking of Sammy, when she first started, she was the first coach that I found in parenting that didn't shame and be like, oh my gosh, you spank your child, you are so horrible. Like, because there was a lot of the gentle parenting stuff, and it just talked about how much you're horrible and damaging your child and this or that. And she came with gentle parenting, with this perspective of like, yeah, it's not okay, and I don't condone it, but I get why you do it, because it's how you were brought up and it's all you knew. But I want to help those that are struggling and are kind of harming their children, but I'm actually being able to come about it in a way of understanding, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so it was like she was the first to be like, not, like judgmental when it came to that. I have a lot of friends around me that do talk about sexuality a lot, so I get to remember that not everyone has that. And yes, the pleasure related to sensuality, five senses, and tapping into that daily. I love that. And that would be a good connection piece at the end, right? Of like, if you do this routine, our sensuality has the ability to heal through the five senses. And so this will help you tap into that every single day. Boom, right? Great connection piece. Right back to that. I love that.
And I think that that's such a good bridge for somebody who maybe is just a little uncomfortable with like calling up and being like, I don't have enough orgasms, can you help me? But like, if you're like, hey, I really want to connect through my senses back into my body, because I'm from a trauma world, and that's a huge piece, is like, you, in childhood trauma, you separate from your body, and some people still haven't reconnected, so like, it's actually really applicable in a lot of areas. So that's exciting to hear. It resonated with me.
Yeah, it's a safe place, right? Without the bold like sex talk for those with trauma. I love that. Okay, next question. And if more questions pop up, because I think this is the last question, please don't hesitate to ask. Except I need to make sure. Oh yeah, I haven't seen any comments come up. Okay. So I just started as a brand partner for Young Living. My upline are very fun people who make you feel invited, but don't respond to questions. So I'm feeling left to fend for answers I don't know how to find. Okay, I'm going to kind of break this up in chunks. So you're actually really lucky, because the very first thing I tell all people in network marketing is do not listen to your upline. Like, just don't, right? Ask Sammy. Like, she's in Juice Plus, and like when I first met the whole Juice Plus community, I'm like, you are all saying the same thing. You are all doing the same thing. None of it is relatable, right? Now there's pros and cons. Let me tell you, the pro is like your upline has got to where they're at, like in some ways. So they have like wisdom, right? The problem is the second people start to catch on, which people have to like doTERRA, Young Living, things like that, right? I even had someone reach out to me yesterday about doTERRA, and it was like the same strategies I heard like 12 years ago when I was in doTERRA. And I was like, it just doesn't resonate with me, right? I've heard it over and over and over. And so it's kind of like the caller ID theory. Like we all got used to like people knocking on our doors. So we got caller ID. Then we got used to people like calling. So then, so we got, sorry, people knocking on doors. So we stopped answering the doors. So then they started calling people, and then we got caller ID, and we would answer like we wouldn't answer the unavailable numbers, right? And like, it just keeps moving. And so even though it will make you feel a little alone, what I find with people that listen to their upline is it's the same strategies that yes, worked 10, 12 years ago, but it doesn't work anymore to private message and reach out to 20 people. It doesn't work anymore just to share your product. It doesn't work anymore. Now you're going to get bites here and there, but it's going to ruin your reputation along the way. And so I actually think the more you can now you can get on the phone calls to learn about the product. You can kind of like take what works and try different things. But in my opinion, go completely a different route. We've had a lot of people come through here with like Young Living, like Micah, and she went more of the Enneagram route, right? Jenna, and then she doesn't do that necessarily anymore, but I think she does, but I don't think she really sells it. But like, it's like she started putting it into her routine around what she does on a daily basis, right? And so what I always say when it comes to network marketing, the less people know that you do it, the better. And so we've got to help you find like a brand of like, same thing, what's the transformation and who do you want to help? And so when I did doTERRA, at the time I was also doing foot zoning, and I specialized in those that wanted to get pregnant or those that were already pregnant and wanted to like really like amp up their like health. And so how did I sell it? I sold it by, as I would figure out what was wrong in their feet, right? Then an oil would be the solution to the problem. So the oils are going to be a solution to whatever problem or target market you're wanting to have. Because I get that oils can help everybody, but the more that you can niche down, and even like when I sold coconut oil and stuff like that, I was doing gut health for kids that had autoimmune issues, right? And so for me, it was utilizing just selling it to the parents that had babies, right? And so I want to keep going though. So I'd really like to make this experience one of my own, mixing it with my personality and lifestyle, but I want to become successful as this is my source of income versus working a yucky desk job. We need insurance. I don't have a following on social media or know how to get out there to start or to make a difference for my success. Give me all the tips. So number one, get out of the mindset that you have to keep your job for insurance. That's a really big one that pops up all of the time. And so I always tell people, so we have a health share and I freaking love it, right? So you have to start thinking about, if I didn't have insurance, because I don't want to stay at a yucky job just based off of money or insurance, like what are other possibilities, right? One possibility is just make sure you always have a savings for if something was to happen. For us, a health share was a really good option. So we have Christian health shares and they cover anything over $500, right? So my last pregnancy was around $30,000, covered all of it, but $500. They actually, I was surprised because I don't think they usually do. I just got like coverage for all of my functional medicine doctor, which was really, it must be the way they code things at their office. Because yeah, so everything I've been going through, they've covered everything but $500. And they did just up their prices, obviously inflation, but for a family of 5, I think we pay like $500 a month or something. But we technically, I guess if you want to call it a deductible, it's not called that. We have a $500 deductible, right? The only downfall is it doesn't cover anything underneath that. but now we just cash price our office visits and it's like $70. And so it all just equals out. So there is options. I will tell you that. It's just finding those. So what I would say, lifestyle, and I want to become successful. So another thing I tell people, and when you get into the hub and you look at the network marketing tips, it'll go into a lot of depth with this too. But my other tip is when you get started, you have to realize, are you marketing for people that want the product, or you want marketing to people that want the business? Because one thing I find that network marketing kind of misleads people into doing is sharing the product and then thinking those people are going to like become like business owners. They will usually get to like usually 1 or 2 levels, but at the end of the day, then they start to realize, oh wow, I actually have to really work this. And then they're like, their sales energy gets a little off, because then they're like, they don't have the strategy. But really, ultimately, you convince them just to sign up to get the discount, which is why they signed up. And now you're trying to convince them that they want the business. So it's actually 2 totally different markets. You either are going to be marketing the business or you're going to be marketing the product, if that makes sense. And a lot of times I feel like people get false hope because they're like, oh, just sell the product or just share the product. And then once they like it, then they'll want to sell it. And in certain companies, depending which one, if this one person isn't selling, and you have all these other people that are even selling, this one person can throw your entire line off, right? And so we want to really make sure that like it is worth waiting and working harder at the beginning to set your foundation up really strong with people that actually want the end result. And the end result is either the discounted product or making money, which is 2 totally different audiences. So as you start to like really brainstorm and do things, and I would maybe in the hub start with like target market or dream client type trainings to really identify who is it that you want to help. And I'll be honest, most of the time we want to help our old selves, right? We want to help our previous version of ourselves. And so not saying that's going to be you, but we do also want to have some sort of experience. And I always use this example that when I got started in Juice Plus, right? Like I did gut health, like my son was allergic to all food. Like we went through all these experiences. I did foot zoning, all these things. And then we went through like a diet protocol, sort of like gaps, right? So we went through gaps, we did all of these things and I healed him. And it wasn't actually till after I healed him that then I started Juice Plus. The problem is what a lot of people do is they have their own timeline, which this is a training too. So hopefully you're writing these down. The sales timeline is a big one, or the marketing timeline. But what starts to happen is I see people that jump into like Young Living or Juice Plus or these things, and they're like, oh, you actually need Juice Plus to be able to heal your gut. And then we're jumping people right to the sell. The problem is it's business karma, and that's a lie because it wasn't actually my story, right? Now, if this was someone's story and they healed eczema through Juice Plus or they healed their gut through Juice Plus, like that's their story. But my story isn't like that, right? And so essentially, I need to start the timeline from here to here, or I need to give them this for free or in a different paid thing, right? And then this is just an added bonus to help kind of bridge that gap once they're already healed, so they don't have to stay at a super strict diet for the rest of their life, so that they actually can fill in those nutrients as they need, right? Because I'm like, I followed a no corn, no soy, no gluten, no sugar for 3 years straight, bringing my own food to hotels and all of these things. And like, it wasn't like pleasable. So now I'll be honest, my diet sucks, but I still can help somebody that has food allergies. That doesn't discredit my progress. But now my answer is I just take this and keep my body supported. If I start to fall back, I'll come do a week or two of like some broth and come here for a little bit, boost myself back up, get rid of the really bad habits. And like, I'm okay with this like kind of back and forthness right now because I can't go back to what I did for that long. It's just not where I'm at anymore, right? It's too much for my lifestyle. But at the time, it saved my child's life. So as you start to write out your timeline, it's going to make a really big difference in how you sell, because then you're going to start to learn the language and the problems of people. So as you go through those trainings, that's going to be a really big training for you to start to identify like who your target market is, what the transformation is, what their language is along the way. Because right now, if I was to actively be selling Juice Plus, my language will now be to people that already know how to be healthy. They're already health conscious. They almost maybe have the opposite problem where they're too afraid to put anything toxic in their body, right? Because it like created this weird thing in me where I would like go without eating because I was more afraid to put the oil of that was Wendy's cooked their hamburger patty on. Even if I got it lettuce wrapped, I was terrified to put that in my body. And so it created this weird thing. And so it was like, I now would target people that know how to be healthy. They know how to go and do the like aggressive stuff, but they don't want to do that anymore. They want to trust their liver. They want to trust their gut. They want to trust their body now that they've healed it. And they want to just be able to bridge that gap with fruits and veggies, right? So great thing. Also, what's the best way to learn about setting yourself apart? Should I have a website and logo of my own? What's important to have? So essentially, yes, eventually you'll want to, but I always tell people the opposite. I don't brand first, which actually shocks people because if you go to any coach, they're going to tell you brand first, brand first, brand first. I don't. Why? Because I've spent so much money on my website. Like even now I'm redoing the entire thing again, which is going to be like $5,000, right? But the problem is when you create your brand first, you can have a logo if you want, but when you create your brand first and you create your website first, you create all these things first, you don't actually know what people are buying yet. So then you go and create all this, assuming you know what people want and like about you. Like when I first started, my group was called Moms Independently United because I was like, I'm going to sell to moms. My passion is moms. The problem is I quickly realized moms were not investing in themselves. And I was like, I was pulling them to just like try to help them. And it didn't work, right? So I found a way to serve moms. And then I was like, okay, this is where the business can go for where people are actually like, what is the audience actually wanting from me? And I started listening to them. So the best thing you can start with is putting stuff out there and just creating small landing pages until you fully are connected and in sync with you and your audience, because your audience will give you your brand. I actually didn't create any of my class names, none of them. They were all created through my audience. They were all created, even like the whole money energy, like expert and goddess, it was what people were calling me. Even when I did gut health, people would be like, you're the poop whisperer. So I grasped it and I went with it because I used to read people's poop and tell them what they were deficient in, right? Or read their face and tell them what they were deficient in. It's just this odd gift from God that I have. And so like I followed what the audience was saying, their language. And so I would say don't even worry about a website right now. Don't worry about branding right now. Just worry about your target market and what is the first thing message wise that you want to experience with. If you had a passion to help people, what would it be? And what's the very clear transformation, right? Is it people with hormone issues? Is it people with that like want to help their kids? Is it people that like have, like certain illnesses? Is it, we have to really start to identify the who and then the what, and then we can come back and rebrand you when you feel really set in stone that your bulletproof like sales plan is actually working. So Just my 2 cents. What's the best investments to be a part of that will pay off, or do you have any recommendations as things that suck people in but don't pay them back? I don't know what that means. What's the best investment? But I will say what you're doing right now is the best investments. I think, and you can ask Amber and Sammy too. But what I would say is, oh no, my laptop's gonna die. Hold on. I'm glad I saw that. Me and my laptop are not friends. Okay. So what I would say is you're in Finance Your Destiny right now, and you're in Building Your Destiny. Building Your Destiny, as long as you actually get into the hub and listen to the stuff and show up on these things and really get the personalized questions, hands down, best place to be. As you can see, we have a group of like 70 people, but very little people show up. It's because they're not applying it, which is okay because it's more help for everybody else that does show up. But what I will say is with you doing Finance Your Destiny, it's going to create such a daily habit for you to get results that what you have to get out of is a perfectionist mindset of, I have to know this before I can do this. I have to know this before I do this. So the best thing you're doing right now is learning how to make the money first, and then you can organize the details after you've played with like what works, what doesn't, who does this. And so Finance Your Destiny is going to really help you actually like create the structure and habits that you need. So could you go invest in more stuff? Sure. If you feel like you want to go invest into like a personal coach, or you want to go invest into things, you can. But I honestly would keep it so simple right now. You're already in Finance Your Destiny. Just start that and just keep doing what you're doing and ask a lot of questions. You'll be just fine. I'm not worried about you one bit. And then after you apply that, then maybe you can start thinking about like, oh, what's my next investment? But right now, what I would say is learn from one person, not like 20 million people, or you're going to get very confused. Because like I said, another coach is going to tell you, you need the brand, you need the logo, you need the website. Now, if that feels more in alignment, then go hire them, right? And like go work with them. Like, so I'm not like the say all answer, but I will say, pick your person and run with it, or else you'll be really confused because you're going to get very conflicting answers, because we all have had success in different ways.
I agree with what you're saying, because I've known Nicole for 7 years, and I've watched you build successful business after successful business. Even when you've pivoted, like you've grown it into another successful business. And somehow they all seem relevant to me. Interesting. But I've just been like, yes, let's do this. And I think Finance Your Destiny is one of the best things that I ever did. And I think it's really good advice to wait to invest in more and more and more and more, because if you pour thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars out, you're going to get into scarcity and like not be able to act in integrity with confidence and keep, you know, that ball rolling until you start seeing the returns, because you'll be freaking out. So I loved Finance Your Destiny. I took it the first time I think that you ever did it, right?
Yeah.
I do. I think that I have a friend of mine that's taking it now this round. I was like, you need this. Like I hear your words and I hear the sound of money, energy, challenges and blocks, and you need Nicole. So, but still, I don't know. It's been, to this day, I still tell people about like going through that with you and having your voice in my ears being like, oh, no, that's scarcity, and you know, hold the line, and just little things where like I still have a Nicole in my head that improves my business and my family and my relationship with my husband and like all of the things. So good investment, good choice. Stick with that.
And that's what I love about like when people ask, right? I'm like, yeah, I have. And I think Tanisha actually asked, like, should I take your higher level stuff? And I'm like, out of all my courses, Finance Your Destiny is the safest one to take when you're just getting started, because it's low cost enough that you don't have that scarcity of like high payments that you're paying me while trying to like figure it out, but you really do have scarcity, right? But then it's like you actually can start to create the habits that will last forever. Like it is the most high touch class I have, minus like obviously personal coaching. But even with that, you create those daily habits probably more than with personal coaching. And so I think it's a great class. But Sammy, yes, we have time for your question. What's your question?
So, because it's been a long time since I've taken that class, I guess I was wondering if your structure is still very similar. Because I know what I remember is we did like Zoom calls like this, and you just would talk and explain things and teach things on the whiteboard. And, we took our notes and we had to do our assignments, and it was so impactful. And I remember at the same time, there was a couple of like really big names out there that were like, you have to do classes like this. And they were like big, fancy productions. And I always thought it was really cool that you were able to help so many people in a really straightforward way. And I guess I was curious if that has maintained or if that has become more elaborate or what.
So it's actually funny. I have not changed. When you were talking about like the classes and stuff, you actually took Finance Your Destiny when it was Meet Your Destiny. So you took it when you were taking it when I was seed launching it, because I was in Vegas and they were like, you need to teach this. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, I taught this class. And then I was like, okay, what can I teach them next? And I taught this class and this class. So you took like Meet Your Destiny. And then I would think it went into Finance Your Destiny. And then we did like a Present Yourself, is I think what we're talking about. I don't do those classes anymore. I mean, there's actually probably in the hub somewhere. So like they still are valuable and pertain to things, but Finance Your Destiny is just kind of one class now, but it is essentially the same structure. So this is actually the first time in probably, I don't know how many years, that I'm actually going to switch up some content, and mostly because I have a lot of people retakes. A lot of the people are just retaking it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to throw in some new updated content during this one. But before this, it's literally been the same structure, pretty much the same content. Like I'll switch out like 2 or 3 classes depending on who's in the group. But yeah, it's still live. The only thing I do different now is I do the Q&A 30 minutes after the class, like during the class. So instead of an hour, it's 90 minutes now, and I do it all in the same day versus splitting it up into 2 days. But there's still the accountability calls. There's still the trackers. They're still turning the stuff in. But literally it's been the exact same. I tried automating it once. Did not work. As far as it didn't work because people didn't follow through. And so all my coaches were like, keep automating. That's where you make the money. And I just can't bring myself to automate. Like people don't follow through. And to me, it's out of integrity to sell them something knowing that they're not going to actually follow through. Right. And so I'm still the one teaching it. It's still live. And then it's pre-recorded. So, or not pre-recorded, then it's recorded for them to watch. The only thing they're required to show up live for is those daily accountability calls.
That's so cool. I'm proud of you.
So yeah, nothing has really changed whatsoever. But I'm working on some things. I'm actually working on, I haven't told anybody this yet, but group coaching, I beta launched it all last year, got it kind of worked out. And now I'm actually creating a whole nother website platform where it's going to be semi-automated and semi-live. So what they're going to get is actually like, they're going to go through an audit process where they do a questionnaire, they get an audit, then they're going to get certain playbooks based off of their audit. Like, here's the 5 playbooks that you need. They're going to work step by step where like, okay, answer your text box answer here. Okay, turn in your story, upload it here. And it's all going to be on the website. And then I'm going to have open office hours during the week where like maybe the first week social media. So I'll bring in a social media person from 12 to 2. If people have social media questions, they'll answer that. I'll be like the second week, if they have coaching questions, they'll answer that. And then eventually I want to get to where when they like submit posts or something, then like they'll like once a week, they'll get a response on edits to the post or emails that they have. So I'm trying to make it semi-automated, but still, because what I'm realizing, what's really bothering me in the coaching world, and I get a lot of coaches that say, well, it's up to them if they don't get the results. It's up to them. They have the information. They have it all right there. And I said, but it's up to you as a coach to recognize most people don't follow through without hand holding. And so I'm trying to find a way to like semi-automate the information but still create the hands, like, where they still have very high accountability and that personalization where they're still getting answers from me or an expert in that actual category.
Awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be good, but it's taking a long time to build, but it's going to be good.
Worth it.
Oh, yep, exactly. Okay, any other questions before we hop off? Okay. If you let me actually go to the Facebook group and make sure there is not any questions on the live. Okay, we will go from there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you ever need help finding something or a specific class for where you're at, reach out to Heidi. She's really good to like be like, hey, start, like, here's a training for you, right? Here's a training for you. Because it really is a do-it-yourself program, but not in a way where it's like step by step. It's like, here's the social media category, here's this category. So you can really go through all of the updated versions, all of the old versions, because there's stuff everywhere that has so much value. And I don't think there's ever been a single training that has been the exact same content in anything in here. So yeah, if you guys need anything, let me know. For those of you starting Financial Destiny today, I will see you in an hour and we will go from there. Bye.